There was more of a sense of the individual Bangles, all four of us, going off and feeling like, you know what, instead of writing with each other, let's go and just have a different method to the madness and reach out to other people. And that's what we did. And then we all came back together and we all sort of threw our songs onto the table.
Everybody, welcome to Story Behind the Song. I'm Peter Chadi, of course, your host, and I'm very, very happy to have Susanna Hoffs of the great band, the Bangles, here with me today. Susanna, I've wanted to interview you for a long time, so it's great to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
And you are in Los Angeles, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in San Diego.
Oh, okay, not too far away.
No,
yeah.
Not far at all. But during the years, I was a huge Bangles fan. I lived in LA in Laurel Canyon during that time. Oh yeah, it was a great time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Laurel Canyon is so special.
Yeah, it's very special.
Think of all the artists. There's been so many documentaries like Joni Mitchell and Graham Nash, footage of them writing songs. And yeah, it's like an iconic part of LA.
Oh,
that's
100%.
Cool that you got to live there.
100%. Yeah, no, I loved it. And I wore this shirt. I mean, we're talking about music today, obviously, but I wore this shirt because a little bird has told me that you are a big movie fan. And of course, you are also... You're a movie fan yourself. I want to ask you about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Your mom was a filmmaker.
Yes.
You've starred in several different films, and you are married to a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know.
I think film and music were always driving forces in terms of creativity, like things that I aspired to. Not so much being an actor, but just getting so many ideas from movies that sort of funneled their way into songs. Not apples to apples kind of direct, but just how it's all about storytelling. And inside of every song is a story to some degree. And I think that just there was something, even from when I was a little girl and I'd go to our local library and I'd get lost in these books that were often about like, little kids who wanted to, like almost like Harry Potter books, but pre-Harry Potter. Like what your imagination can take you places that you never thought you could go. And so I guess I just love the stories inside of songs and movies, and that's been have fueled sort of creativity in my life. Yeah. Yeah.
No, look, completely. Music is such a fundamental part of all the films, and a little plug for my son who's a filmmaker. He just graduated from NYU Film School.
Ooh.
And so he is, this is all near and dear to me as well. And so like the music and the movies and the storytelling, and you have, before we get into talking about the story behind the song Eternal Flame, because that's the show goes deep into that. But you just recently published your first book, I think it is.
Yeah.
And that's very cool. Good for you.
Thank you. Because I had been going to the library, my mom would take my brothers and me there, and I started really early loving to read and loving to disappear into a story, somebody else's story, but finding ways to relate. And I think songs do that too. I think there are stories inside of songs, and that's why we love music, those of us who do. And that's why we connect, whether it's a song that makes you cry or a song that you played at your wedding, or, that's in a way connects me back to Eternal Flame, because when I was writing that song with Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, there was just something about me telling the story of the Bangles at Graceland, standing and kind of recreating the Spinal Tap. For people who don't know Spinal Tap, it's a fictional band, but those of us in the music business, Spinal Tap is the most accurate version of what it's like to be in a band.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, the deli tray thing, there's so many scenes, but there was this iconic scene set at the Garden of Memories when the Bangles were in Memphis and doing the tour, which all bands have to do, of Graceland. That day was, and it leads me to Eternal Flame, because that day it was rainy. And so when we went to the Garden of Memories, the eternal flame was actually out.
Wow.
The rain had
Wow.
made it so that it had gone out. I know.
Not so eternal.
No, yeah, not so eternal on that day. But
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
came home to LA and I was due to have a writing session with my pal Billy Steinberg, I was just telling him that I'd just come back from the tour and I got to go to Graceland and there was this eternal flame and we were standing around recreating the Spinal Tap moment. But then he stopped me. He said, "Stop, eternal flame. That's a great name for a song." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually it is." And right then and there, we worked on the lyrics and then we drove over the hill to where Tom Kelly's studio was, and Tom started playing some stuff, and then we just created the song that day. It happened really fast.
So, okay, I love that, and I love getting right into it. And so that answers that question, that the lyrics first came, and then the music came. So you had this poem, essentially.
Yeah, yes.
And it was instigated by your trip to Memphis.
Yeah.
The fact that the eternal flame was out, a little dose of Spinal Tap that's thrown in there.
Yeah.
And you had written this poem together,
Yeah.
and then you went to put some music around it. How long did that whole process take?
It was so fast. It was so fast. When Tom started moving into the Say My Name, Sun Shines Through the Rain, those two things that are actually, it's a weird form. I shouldn't say it's a weird form. It's a slightly less than typical form for a song where you have a verse and a chorus, because is this burning an eternal flame that is the bookend to the verse. It's like the little couplet that happens when the close your eyes. I don't want to try to sing it now, but.
No, that's okay. I would love it if you sang it.
Well, but so the form of it was quite simple and to the point, but it's the Say My Name, Sun Shines Through the Rain parts that kind of breaks open this. When I just remember so vividly when that came to pass, the three of us were sitting there, and Tom just went to some chord progression, and it was that, and then Billy's lyrics and what we had worked on, the three of us, it all just kind of coalesced in that moment to have that Say My Name, Sun Shines Through the Rain, a whole life so lonely, then you come and ease the pain, that I don't want to lose this feeling, oh, and then there's a little guitar solo, and then it repeats that, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't like a typical chorus. It's almost like a bridge. It was like a bridge. I love bridges in songs because they're kind of like the left turn that you don't expect.
Yeah.
But the form of it, maybe it's a typical form, but for me, the minute that section, that bridge section was created, it felt so good when we got to that place. And it's many years ago now, probably 30 years ago or something, that we were all sitting there together, and it kind of happened really fast. I mean, it was sort of done on that day. And then there was a long delay where it was, I guess, waiting to pitch it like the other girls in the band. We all kind of, I think on that third album, the Everything album, which I believe Eternal Flame is on that album.
1988 album.
Yeah. So everybody was sort of burnt out, and we'd just come back from a tour, so everybody took a little bit of space, gave each other space to go off and write. And so I was really proud. I still have the cassette of somewhere in a box of because it was cassettes back then.
Yeah, of course.
Not even DVDs or CDs exactly, but for writing on something, it was a cassette. And I brought it to the table. We all met up. David Segerson was going to be that. We had worked with David Kahn twice on the first two records, and then we were looking for a change, and David came in, and he had a whole different kind of way of doing things, and we really needed that change for whatever reason, just the process. And he brought this really lovely energy to everything. He was I loved how literate he was in terms of books. We had a lot of things we both loved, like novels and films and different things that were not necessarily exactly about music, but we really connected. And So when it was time for the period of writing and turning in music to sit around as a group with our new producer and sort of go, well, I wrote these 4 songs and I wrote these 3 songs or more, and kind of do the hard kind of, I don't know how you would describe it. It was always a little bit stressful in a way, because we had so much time on the road together. It was like living on top of each other to this these months of autonomy where we're like, our mission is to go out and write songs. And we all wanted to write with different people. Because I had written a lot with the other band members, in particular with Vicky. And so this was like a big new era for the Bangles, to like reach out beyond just the band for songs. So sorry if this is getting too long-winded.
No, not at all.
But I myself am recounting that period, you know.
No, I love it. I want you to continue on. But so was this really, the process had changed for the first time really on album 3, when it was more like going outside the Bangles, and Susanna Hoffs is going out there with trying to explore new territory with a different group. And then your bandmates too.
Yeah, so everybody needed that autonomy, having sort of lived on top of each other, going from album cycles to touring cycles to, you know, being on the road and coming home and giving this little grace period to kind of come up with stuff for the next album and that kind of thing. So there was more of a sense of the individual Bangles, all 4 of us, going off and feeling like, you know what, instead of writing with each other, let's go and just have a different method to the madness and reach out to other people. And that's what we did. And then we all came back together, and we all sort of threw our songs onto the table. And then was the hard decision, again, channeling back to what I said, of like picking the 10 songs. It was about 10 songs per album back then, 8 to 10. And then, you know, Eternal Flame was not chosen by the committee, because it was 3 against 1. And it's okay, but I was sad, I'll admit it. I was a little heartbroken, but I thought, okay, it didn't get picked, so it's not going to be on the album. I can accept that. This is a band, and we make group decisions, and, you know, we're playing by the rules that we set. So we were working on the album, and then partway into the album, David said, you know what? I think there's a way to do Eternal Flame. I love the song. I believe in it. I believe in you, you know, like he was very upbeat about it, but he was a little not clandestine. That's not the way to do it. It wasn't super secretive. He just said, you know what, I think I want to explore an arrangement for it. And there's this guy, Phil Chanel, who's a great keyboard player. Let's go over there and just mess around. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, I was hoping this song would have a shot, at least, of getting it on their album. And so we did just that. And, you know, it was more of a keyboard arrangement initially. In the Bangles version, it's the part that might have been on a keyboard was done on a guitar. The da 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 da. You know, that little that little back and forth sort of what do you call it? Like not a merry-go-round, like a music box, music box melody. Very, very calming and sweet.
Yes. And
anyway, ultimately, about, I would say, halfway to possibly even 3/4 of the way in the studio, David and me and Phil had given us the arrangement. We went ahead and recorded the arrangement, and it was really special to go finally to have, you know, the band having faith in the song and stuff, and just go and sing it. And I so remember, like, it was because we didn't have, for each of us, we had decided that instead of all of us sitting in the control room listening to the other person sing their songs, and this was a David thing, we let each girl have a day during the week or 2 days in the week to do their stuff alone with the producer. And that's just what we had gotten to back then. We weren't like sitting there watching each other lay down vocals.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about the committee.
Yeah.
And so you're all off doing your thing. Then you get to a committee meeting.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Do you go over
God.
to your house and get some cups of coffee, and then everybody like walk us all through what that process
I
is
don't
like?
have absolute clear memories of the band being in the room with David and
Yeah.
going through the songs because we had been through so much in a way. I mean, it wasn't something negative. We were just fried from the cycle of studio, recording, on the road, studio, on the road, a lot of on the road, and
Yeah, of
some
course.
studio. So everybody was sort of living like you're in camp, but you can't escape camp. You know, it's like summer camp that doesn't end. So we're sort of in this mode of like, sort of needing to be individual human beings, not Bangle band members. And so I think David wisely said, let's not have a committee sitting in the control room watching the other person perform the vocal on their song. Let's have them do it after we've tracked the record and all of us in a room playing, you know, in isolation booths or whatever we needed to do to get the track recorded, the music track. But when the person's going to go in and sing their song, we're going to do it at night. And we're going to have, you know, whiskey for this person, a bottle of wine for that person, you know, nothing for that, water for that person. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he really knew that we were sort of fried from
Yeah.
the experience. And you're sort of like a family that's not an actual family, although Vicki and Debbie were our sisters. But he was smart to do that because bands get burned out when they're heading towards a decade of traveling together.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
also I think it, and it's possible that when we were doing the David Kahn records, my memory, those two albums, Different Light and Everything, I don't think, you know, usually we were all in the studio and sometimes you poke your head in and someone was singing. David was smart to kind of say, you guys are fried, you guys have been forced together for so long. When you're doing your vocal, it's you and me. He's the producer, you're the Bangle who's up to bat at standing at a microphone, and I want you to feel comfortable and you know, to be able to do your best performances. So that was how we did that album, you know, and that was true, even though Eternal Flame was recorded, you know, hadn't been picked, you know, to be put on the album. I got the same grace as everyone else when they were doing their songs. So I wasn't sitting there like, no one was sitting there with their arms crossed,
Right.
like under a microscope seeing what their bandmate was doing. And I think that was smart. And
Yeah.
I think that we had earned that. We were still in our 20s, you know?
Well,
We're
that's what's
that
incredible.
alone.
It's album
Yeah.
number 3, and you're still in your 20s.
We're in our 20s and we're like, we're seeing 30 on the horizon, but we're not there yet,
Yeah.
you know? And we were still young women, and but David couldn't have been more wonderful. I mean, he just understood that we needed personalized attention and we didn't need a committee watching the other people do their solo on the guitar, or, you know, it was, I mean, when we would track, it would often be with everybody. But when it came to vocals, I feel like his instincts were really good. And we all needed that autonomy in the studio. Just Beverly Jones, who was our engineer, and David and whoever was singing at that time.
He sounds like a very positive force overall.
He's such a wonderful human being. I just love him. He's fantastic.
And so your first 2 albums, you wanted to change the sound. And how would you describe, apart from doing a different kind of process where you're out on your own and really striking out with a different group of people to write,
Yeah.
what was the sound that you wanted to experiment or extend with a new producer? New approach.
I think the approach was realizing that the band had been somewhat frayed after the first 2 records, and that we needed we needed someone with slightly different energy, or vastly different energy, who had been a songwriter and musician himself, and who knew the drill and had a kind of temperament and grace about him. He was a very intellectual guy. I really, really adore David. Not that, I mean, I actually had great experiences with David Kahn too. I got along extremely well with him, but David, it was a good moment for David to step in the room, and if you look at the behind the music that there is on the, you say this is the story behind the song.
Yeah.
Behind the music, I actually just revisited just a little moment from that series and our episode, talking about Eternal Flame actually, but it was we needed a different, for lack of a kind of overused word, we needed a producer with a different energy.
Yeah. Well, no, I totally get it. I mean, I would imagine just the mere fact of, okay, it's album number 3, let's shake it up a little bit. Just like anything in life, it's always good to reimagine things a little bit and try new things and experiment with new things.
Yeah, and I think David was just what the doctor ordered, to be honest. I mean, he was such an intellectual. He's so a music lover like the rest of us, and he had a great way of, parsing out, each person's time, so that there wasn't like a committee sitting there watching, which, I thought that was very smart.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case in other recording situations, and it was wonderful.
So when you recorded Eternal Flame, and by the way, everybody, we're talking about Eternal Flame. First of all, it was a #1 smash. It's a great song from album number 3, but also because Susanna has reimagined it and just recently released a new version of it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah.
But so did everybody before the committee?
Yeah.
Did you all get a chance to record with David in the studio, and then you have the committee meeting, or was the committee meeting beforehand?
I think this is going back a long time.
I want to go deeper than behind the scenes and VH1.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, so we all went off and took a few months, I can't remember how long it was, to just write, and everyone went scattering in different directions. There was no co-writes that maybe there was a couple, but I'd have to look at the song list. But we primarily went and wanted to write with other people. Yeah. And so that was just sort of a growing point, in our journey as Bangles. And then, what was your question again?
No, my question was just of whether did you first record the songs that you thought deserved to be on the album, your individual songs, all of you, and then once you recorded them, you come in. Or is it the unfinished songs?
No. We recorded them, we tracked them as a band in the studio. So once everybody came in, and we each had four songs or something, hoping, knowing that not all of them might get picked. But enough for an album, you want about 10 songs and there's 4 girls in the band. So you could do the math. I'm terrible at math, but you get the gist. And so, and there was so much equality in the Bangles. There was a very strong, it wasn't like there's a lead singer. It was like everybody's a singer, everyone's a writer, everyone's a player.
Yeah,
so
cool.
So everybody went their separate ways, and then we all came down, and we had a big committee meeting, and everybody played their demos that were probably
the
still
demo.
on.
That's how
yeah,
you
so
did
the
it.
demos, you play the
I
demo,
see.
and then you would make the list of what songs were actually going to be recorded. And of course, we would all track those songs together, and then whoever wrote it, in every case in that record, they would also sing lead on it.
Yeah.
They would be the lead vocal, since everybody in the Bangles sings.
Yeah.
So so that's how we did it, and I'd have to look at the song list from that album, which you probably have in front of you, and there were everybody had about 3 songs, that ended up on the album.
So as part of this equality, was it kind of the general philosophy of the band that no matter how strong everybody's songs were, candidly,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's that,
Yeah.
okay, you have 10 tracks. So no matter how, even if Susanna had 5 songs that were amazing, you still were limited to 2.5, 3 songs. Is that
Yeah.
kind of how it was?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So-
basically what it was.
So what
I could
happened-
look at the Everything album really quick, and I'd have to find it.
So would some of the other songs then that you loved, that went to your solo albums?
That would have happened, yeah.
Okay,
I'm just trying to
gotcha.
find what was on the third record. So In Your Room was the opening track of the album, and that
Great
was something
song.
that I wrote with Billy and Tom. Then Complicated Girl, which was a Michael Steele song. Then Bell Jar. Some of them might have been co-writes. All of Michael's songs were always written by her and her friend, so not a Bangle. Her and a non-Bangle. Bell Jar was a Vicky song. Something to Believe In, I believe, was a Michael Steele song. Eternal Flame was me. Be With You was Debbie. Glitter Years, oops, sorry, it's going.
No,
Be
that's
With
okay.
You, Be With You was Debbie's song. Glitter Years was Michael's song. I'll Set You Free was one of mine that was with Eric Lowen and Dan Navarro, so that was a non-Billy and Tom one. Watching the Sky was Everybody. Wait a minute, no, that was Vicky. I might have co-written, some of these I might have co-written. Like Waiting for You was me and Billy and Tom. Crash and Burn was a Vicky song. Waiting for You was a me, Billy and Tom song, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll Set You Free was me and Dan Navarro. Yeah. Be With You, Debbie wrote with a friend of hers. Yeah, so everybody was writing with somebody else that was a non-Bangle. I guess we had gone, we were in, we're heading towards 10 years, and we're like,
Yeah, totally
it's
get
time to
And
open
so-
it up a little.
And once you had Eternal Flame in the can, so you had recorded it,
Yeah.
did everybody know that, there was something magical about this song?
Well, it wasn't released until, it was like the 3rd single released, I'm pretty sure, on the album.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was oh my God,
And then it became a number 1 smash.
Yeah, but it was also like really big in Europe and the UK. It was really quite something how it took off. Yeah, a lot of Scandinavian countries. Yeah, all over Europe, and yeah.
What's so interesting about your music is that, first of all, the democracy of it all.
Yeah.
That's quite rare. That it's
I know.
that democratic like that, and that everybody is a songwriter, everybody's a singer, and everybody's a player, which is really a magical thing. That's a very cool thing. But what's also amazing is just the range of the Bangles, because you have songs like Hero Takes a Fall, Hazy Shade of Winter. I mean, these are all amazing songs. And then you go all the way to the whimsical, which is more like Walk Like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
And then you have a ballad like this song that we're talking about, Eternal Flame. So the range of it probably is a reflection of the democracy of it all.
Yeah, to some degree, yeah, certainly. And I mean, Vicky tended to write things that had a kind of pretty strong leaning towards rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of always drawn to melody, that like songs that I grew up singing along to Dusty Springfield and Dionne Warwick songs, and songs with like a lot of melody and a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
Like, so I grew up like training myself by singing along over and over again. Or I already mentioned Joni Mitchell, but like very much drawn to melody and things that were really emotional.
Right.
I was less rock and roll, I guess. I was more of a drawn to pop music, and I don't mean like, there's so many versions of what you would call pop music, but the pop music of the 1960s had a very strong effect on me.
Yeah.
And still does. I was still going down listening to Dionne Warwick, doing Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs, and like those melodies and those lyrics are just unbelievable. They're just so
Yeah, they really
incredible.
are. They're amazing and so
Yeah.
ripe for reimagining themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But so let's
Yeah.
get into a little bit of the reimagination of Eternal Flame and why now? Why at this point did you decide to do this project? And I just learned for the first time that there's a reimagination of multiple songs
Oh,
happening.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just got approached by somebody who became a very good new friend, and it was through Carla, my manager, who's so wise and wonderful, who I believe put me together with this guy, CJ, who has a string quartet called yMusic that he is in charge of, and he's a trumpet player, and he's a very musical guy. And I was just approached to say, like, would you want to go up to Jonathan, I think it was Jonathan Wilson's house up in the hills, and he's got a studio, and there's equipment there, and maybe you could re-sing some of these for funds, you know? And so I just sort of got hooked in the process, because they're all songs I love. They're songs that are near and dear to my heart. And I thought, that's kind of a fun challenge, you know, to go, it's 30 years since I stood before a mic singing these very songs. And in the Bangles era, and then to sort of have this chance to like stand in front of a mic again and do it again at a more senior moment. But there's nothing wrong with growing old. I mean, I
Not
feel
at all.
very young at heart, and
100%.
So I have no intention of retiring anytime soon. So
Good
it
for you.
just sparked all this wonderful music making that I didn't expect to happen, because I just, you know, had my novel put out, and I was, you know, just busy with things. But, you know, as I always say, music is the beginning, middle, and end of every day. Like, I'm never going to not want to listen to it, for one, or be involved in creating it. So, yeah, it just made sense.
Yeah. And one of the things I've talked about with so many of the great artists who have been on the show is you have a song, so it's a poem, and then or vice versa, but let's just say you go with the lyrics first, so the poem, and then you put some music around it, but that can be conveyed in an infinite number of ways. And so I would
Exactly.
imagine for an artist such as yourself, when you have Eternal Flame the way it was recorded, and reimagining could go many different directions. And
Yeah.
that alone, what a journey. That's kind of cool.
It's so cool, and that's why it was so great when I got put together with CJ, who Carla put me together with, because we did a string I think maybe the first version we did of Eternal Flame was a string quartet version, and it was so fun to hear it reimagined in that way.
Yeah.
So it just kind of I became addicted to collaborating with CJ and our amazing engineer Grant Milliken, and it's just been fun to reimagine songs that are near and dear to my heart, and that maybe new generations of people might explore and discover in different ways, you know? So it's been really rewarding, and I mean, music it's just, I don't know, it is a magical thing. I mean, I love music. It doesn't have to be my own music, but I love making it, but I also just love music. So I don't know. It was a great opportunity. I couldn't say no to CJ. Yeah.
Yeah,
And here
well,
we are.
we all who are listening here, and I personally am very much, everybody who's listening is a huge music person, obviously.
Yeah.
And music is so important, especially when times get crazy,
Yeah.
and it's therapy and it's calming, but it's also inspirational and all those kinds of things. And so thank God for you musicians and the talent to be able to put it out there and tap into that. And just what is the feeling like, Susanna, when you're on stage and you're singing Eternal Flame?
Right.
And you see everybody going like this and holding their phones or lighting their lighters like they used to do. What is that feeling like?
Well, I just had this incredible opportunity to perform at a festival. It was a Redondo Beach. I think it's called Beach Life. It was
Beach Life.
And I'd never gone out onto the ramp they had one of those ramps. And the last show I did with the Bangles was quite a while ago. It was in 2019. It was the Kaboo Festival. And I was like really wanting to go out on the ramp because
Yeah.
I
I was there.
Oh, you were there, because right
was there.
after we played, that's so cool that you were there.
Yeah.
Sheryl Crow went out after us, and I was like, oh, she's doing the ramp thing. She's getting close to the people. But for whatever reason, my bandmates didn't want to do it, and I honored their wishes. But then Beach Life came, and I was like, I'm looking at the ramp, and I'm like, hey, I want to go out on the ramp this time, because I didn't do it last time. I had that chance, I thought. And so it was such a beautiful feeling. If there is a clip on my Instagram you can find, and maybe a YouTube clip too, where I was just walking and talking, going, I'm dragging this long lead, because I signaled to I had put it in my wish list to the crew, like, I might go out on the ramp this time, because I didn't go last time when I really wanted to. So I'm holding the mic, and I'm pulling this lead, and it was the most amazing moment I've ever had, I think, at a concert, ever, in all those years. People were holding their babies up to me. They were so sweet, and reaching their hands, and I was crouching and holding hands and looking in the eyes of these people, and then realizing how many people were out there. It was just such a beautiful, I was on a cloud for like the whole week after that. I just couldn't believe it. It was so lovely to have that. I'd never done that my whole life as a musician. So it was a big turning point in my life. And I said to my manager, hey, let's do some festivals next year. That was fun.
Yeah, do festivals. Come on.
I want to. We're working on it. We're working on it, yeah. So it was because that's why all of us music lovers, we're never, it's so beautiful to have like those moments of communing together over the music. It's just so wonderful. I was like on a cloud for a whole week. Like, it was amazing.
No, that's beautiful. Well, hopefully you'll be at Coachella. It's time for Bangles.
Oh, I know.
Hopefully, because it's time for the Bangles to play Coachella.
Well, we might, but in case in case it turns out to just be me doing it, then that will work too. No. I'd happily go.
We'd love to see it, for sure. We'd love to see it. So we talked about that. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back. And I want to talk to you about a little bit about the formation of the band. I mean, we did things I love the way we did it this time. It was very organic, and we dug into the song. But we'll be right back with Susanna Hoffs, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about new projects. We already discussed the reimagination of Eternal Flame, but we'll talk about the book and a few other things. And then I have a speed out, or where I'll just go like point by point with a couple questions, okay?
Oh, sure.
You have a new album that will be coming out.
Yeah.
That, like I said, I learned of. What is the time frame for that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we're talking about the early fall. I think the beginning of the fall, or in the summer. I'd have to commune with my manager, Carla, and
but of
find
next
out.
year or
No, this year. This year. This year.
Great.
Definitely this year. Definitely
great.
this year. Most of the music is finished, Yeah. The project is, mostly done.
And then will you be touring?
Oh, that I don't know yet. I mean, because I had such a marvelous experience at Beach Life, Carla and Brody, my agent, are working on looking into festivals next year. Because it was it really did something to me. I loved it. It was so great to perform at Beach Life, and it was unforgettable. So I look forward to opportunities such as that in the future. Yeah.
So, and then we talked a little bit about your book, The Bird Has Flown.
This Bird Has Flown. Yeah, This Bird Has Flown.
This Bird, excuse me.
Yeah, it's easy to get that.
This Bird Has Flown, which was published in 2023, so a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to everybody out there that it's great reviews to be like kind. Like, it's great reviews. You've had wonderful reviews.
It was crazy great reviews. I was stunned when I stumbled upon the first one, not even realizing that it was when I used to be on Twitter. But anyway, we won't go there. But it was just unbelievable. I was reading it off my phone as I walked up the stairs here, like couldn't believe the review from the New York Times.
Yeah, New York Times.
I'm walking, I just said to Jay, you got to read this. And it was the most incredible review. And I love the reviewer. I finally worked up the courage months and months and months after, because I didn't know if it was okay to just like say, oh my God, thank you for that review. But I got really great reviews on the book, and it was a labor of pure love writing that book. The character's a musician, you know, I know what that's like, so I could authentically describe what it feels like to be a musician, but it's also a love story. It's a one-hit wonder who is trying to kind of figure out how to get past being a one-hit wonder, and she ends up randomly flying to England from the West Coast and just sitting next to a very classy, sexy, hot Oxford professor, and sparks fly, and she finds herself hanging out a little longer in Oxford, and then finally, I don't want to give away too much, but kind of reclaiming her ability to perform on big stages, having just, at the start of the book, she's playing at a bachelor party. That's how low she's gotten to, you know, and so it was a joy to write that book, and it was such a pleasure, and I was so thrilled by how it did out in the world.
Well, you were obviously you're always a songwriter, but were you a long form writer before, or is it...
No. I had dreamed my whole life of writing a novel. I grew up like I was explaining earlier about being at the library and sitting on, or maybe I'm mixing that up with another story, but I used to go to the library. My mother took me to the library. We were all young readers because my mother loved books so much, and it just kind of morphed into a lifelong passion for reading. And you know, I use certain books to kind of inform This Bird Has Flown, which is the name of my novel. But I thought at first of making the protagonist an actress, you know. But then I thought, well, I know the music world. It would be kind of fun to pull back the curtain and show people what it's really like.
Yeah.
It's both a love story, a sexy, hot love story, and a book about a woman's journey from being a one-hit wonder to, you know, kind of reclaiming her mojo, you know, so.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
Because I've written a few books, and it's a process.
Oh, yeah.
It's not easy. It takes dedication. So good for you with all the different projects that you're working on. So what are some of the other things that are right now are projects that you're focused on or that matter to you?
Well, wrapping up this project of doing these recordings that we were talking about earlier, and I started my second book, which is kind of a sequel book, but because I focused so much, I got so ensconced in the music making that I haven't had a chance to really get like into the flow state with my second book. So I'm very eager this summer to, now that things are simmering down a little bit in terms of the creation of the whole new set of songs, that I'll sort of try to balance songwriting, not reinventions of old songs, but the songwriting I'm doing currently, and novel writing. So it's like writing in two different forms, but I like juggling both.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And so getting back to kind of how we started with like movies, and movies are so central to you, and the success of the book, could it be that there is a movie in the works based on your book?
Oh yeah, I have two incredible producers who are working on the film adaptation of the book. And we worked with another company. I don't want to get too into the politics and you know, but there was a lot of interest, and it was like it's settled into where it needs to be. And I had written a couple drafts of the screenplay, but now that I'm working with two of my favorite producers, and they have such a great take on everything, because you can't, a book is long. You have to figure out which parts you know, you have to streamline. Let's put it that way. You have
Yeah.
to streamline a story that will fit for either a TV series or a feature film. Rom-coms, which technically, I don't think of my book as a rom-com, but technically, it's a romantic comedy. I don't know. I guess it would be lumped in that genre. So it's not like overtly comedic, but it's technically considered a rom-com. So
Yeah.
it will be possibly best. Well, we'll see where it lands. We'll see where it lands. I have some work to do on the script, but I joyfully approach the work.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing that too. Okay.
Me too.
So let's wrap things up with a little rapid fire lightning round.
Okay.
And you already talked about one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable moment that you've had is Beach Life, which is wonderful to hear that later in your career, you've had one of the most impactful moments. And that's very cool. Or right now on your playlists, you know, for what you're listening to, like artists that are moving you today. And it doesn't have to be artists who are fresh artists, new artists who are just emerging, but who are some artists on Susanna Hoffs' playlist right now?
Wow. Well, I just made, just before I got on the Zoom, a Dionne Warwick playlist of her doing all the Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs. Like those songs and the way that she sang them are all, it's like you could, I don't know what the word is. It's like a lesson in how to do things. Even a Burt Bacharach song, Hal David song ended up in my novel, mentioned in my novel. But their songwriting, Burt was really the melody guy and Hal David was the lyricist. For the most part, that's how they did it. And I don't know what it is about those songs, but they I don't know, they do something to me. But maybe I'm not answering your question.
No, I mean, look, if Burt Bacharach, if Dionne Warwick is on your playlist right now, that's a moment in time, a snapshot of Susanna Hoffs right now, and what's like getting you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have lots of playlists. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music. I'm just looking at my.
Is there any emerging artist that kind of you think, wow, that person is? There's something.
I mean, there's so many. I have to just look on. I'd have to do a little bit of a deep dive, so I might not be prepared for you for this moment. But I mean, there's just so many. Like, I can't even like think. There's too many things. I can't figure it out.
You know, it's interesting when somebody's deeply involved in music. And you ask them the question, okay, kind of give me one or a few. It's very hard.
No, it is. There's this Neil Finn song, She May Come My Way. I just want to get
Neil
it right.
Finn is outstanding. He was on the show.
Yeah, he's so good. And where is his song called? I think it's She May Come My Way. Is that what it's called? Sorry, I don't want to get it wrong.
That's from one of his earlier albums. I think it's like Crowded House album. Oh, it might be a Neil Finn solo.
It's a Neil Finn solo.
It might be
for
solo,
sure.
Yeah.
But
he's
like
a great
that.
Artist.
Oh yeah, she will have her way. That's it.
It's a beautiful
such a great song. Yeah. So I So I have on that playlist. I have She Will Come Her Way. Are You There with Another Girl, which is Dionne Warwick. It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, Van Morrison. If I Needed You, Townes Van Zandt. Chimes of Freedom, The Byrds, You Are in My Mind, We Five, Do I Ever Cross Your Mind, which is Dolly Parton and Chet Atkins. Like, it's so random. Wedding Bell Blues by Laura Nero, yeah. I mean, different drum, Linda Ronstadt singing different drum. Something in the Air, Thunderclap Newman. I mean, it's just so random. Get Together, The Youngbloods. A lot of them are old songs, but yeah.
That's the beauty of music, is that you don't need to pigeonhole yourself. It's wonderful to enjoy all these different genres.
Yeah.
And then I'll wrap things up with, okay, wearing the shirt. We started with movies. And since you're a movieaholic yourself.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite movies of all time?
Oh, okay. The Graduate, I just revisited. Dustin Hoffman. Let's see. I went on a deep dive of, okay, hold on a second. I'm just having the little, Dirk Bogarde movies. Have you seen The Servant?
No.
It's a British New Wave film. It's fantastic. The Servant, Dirk Bogarde. Yeah.
Okay.
And Sarah Miles.
Yeah.
And Sarah Miles was in Blow Up. I have the Blow Up poster up there.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. Blow Up. I love that era of the mid '60s.
Yeah.
So The Servant was more like that sort of work. It's a genre. I don't remember the name of the genre. But I loved anything that Dirk Bogarde is in. He was famously in, well, we'd have to look him up on IMDb to get it all. But
No, I'll check it out for sure.
Check it out.
Everybody check out some of Susanna's favorites that she mentioned in terms of music, because a
Yeah.
lot of you probably aren't aware of some of those songs, and they're
Yeah.
amazing songs that are timeless songs, and it's great to experience them too.
Yeah.
And I know there's so many other things. You have a vintage guitar collection. There's a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
But Susanna, listen, huge fan. Love your music. Excited
you.
to see that or to hear that you have new music that's going to be coming out and reimagining all the songs that you love so much. And then all these other things too. The fact that you're this multifaceted artist who does all these things, that's a tremendous testament to you. So good for you. And I appreciate you being on the show, Story Behind the Song, and listening to the journey of you walking us through how that all happened. Because that's really cool to see how, like, the story of how from the kernel, how from the nugget, this thing all started because of your love for Elvis. You're going to tour. And then...
Oh, you mean Eternal Flame?
Yeah, Eternal Flame.
Eternal Flame specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically your love for Elvis, and then that whole anecdote spurred what we're talking about today. So
Thank you.
excellent. Wonderful. So wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Okay, great. Everybody, Susanna Hoffs of the Bangles. Go see her when she promises she's going to tour later on, and then we'll tour on festivals as well. We look forward to that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.